Do you now see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So again, thank you for the invitation, and I will present to you today the European Platform on Rare Disease Registration. We call it EURD platform for short. And in particular, as Dylan mentioned, the European Rare Disease Registry infrastructure, and you hear me throughout the presentation calling it ERDRI for short. As from the introduction, I'm from the Joint Research Center of the European Commission. It's the Directorate General of the European Commission. And we began this work back in 2017. And we operate this platform since 2019. So a bit of background about the European Commission's, excuse me, let me go back. The European Commission strategy for rare diseases, basically why we are doing this work. It all stems from back in 2008 with a communication from the Commission to the other bodies of the EU. The communication was Rare Diseases, Europe's Challenges, and it aimed to improve recognition and visibility on rare diseases, support policies on rare diseases in the EU member states, and to develop European cooperation, coordination, and regulation for rare diseases. So this goes far back in 2008, but we all know that this is very much of actuality right now with Rare Disease Day coming up tomorrow. I think it's very good opportunity to also remind this that we have come a long way forward, but there's a lot to be done, and this is why we are still working on the EURD platform. And some further facts on rare diseases. You may know or not that rare disease is defined in Europe. The European definition is a disease that affects less than 5 people in 10,000. And it is estimated that there are many more than 6,000 different rare diseases, and that more than 30 million people are affected by these diseases across Europe. We have some more information on this video that we have on our main page. I will show you in a minute. But another question that comes up then, why? What is this EURD platform for rare disease registries? There are these diseases and there are patients for whom we accumulate data across Europe on the patients. These patients are scattered in different registries, and we need to cope with the fragmentation of the data sources across member states. So the idea is to improve the standardization and the interoperability between these data collections, and to focus on both semantic interoperability and linkage and transfer of data between registries. You heard a lot in this series of lectures about fair data. It's also our aim to make this as fair. The F of fair stands for findability, the A for accessibility. It is one place, the EURD platform, where registries can start satisfying this principle of fair. So the ultimate aim is to be able to put together all the data from the rare disease patients to reach critical numbers in order to enable studies of all kinds and research. So let's move on to our platform. So one main part of the platform deals with searchability, findability of rare disease registry data. Whereas we have another part of the platform that deals with, we call it data repository. It is about collecting data on the surveillance of congenital anomalies in Europe. In this part, we do collect actual data from the different registries across Europe, whereas in the top part that I will focus on today, you will see that we deal mostly with metadata, looking for the data. So if you ever need to know more about EuroCAD, I can direct you to my colleagues who deal with this part of the platform, who will be able to answer more questions. So I mentioned earlier the part that I will focus on, the part that makes patients' data searchable, findable, and one way to do this is also to standardize the collection of data. We, as a first tool towards this standardization, we have developed the set of common data elements. This set of common data elements should be used by all registries in a standardized form. And you will be able to find it on this link that I have here in all EU languages. And as an example, in our metadata repository, I will talk about that later. Let me just tell you, here is very small. I have put all the elements here. Some of you might be familiar with it already. It is about 8 different categories of data. Basically, we focused on the minimum number of data that allows us the development of basic interoperability between the registries and basic epidemiological studies to begin with, before the registries can expand to their specific data sets. It is about, the first one is about pseudonym, the second section is about personal information, only 2 elements, the date of birth and the sex, the patient status, the care pathway. Then we have 2 elements on the disease history, diagnosis, some questions related to research, and the classification of functioning disability with a disability profile score when it is applicable. We are currently working on expanding this genetic diagnostics section to make it more like a usable guide to the registries. And we're also working with a group on undiagnosed case recommendations for registries. So this is activities that are going on to improve these 2 points here. So I mentioned that I will be focusing on the European Rare Disease Registry infrastructure, ERDRI. So the characteristics of ERDRI, we have 2 guiding principles that we are ensuring discoverability of data from the participating registries.
Yeah.
Via I think there's a mic on. Okay, so we ensure the discoverability of data from the participating registries, while the registries remain owners of their data and they decide about the use and reuse of their data. So these are the 2 important principles, because the registries, by no means, they don't expose their data. Their data sit with them. Actually, it is the patients who are owners of their own data. We have to remember this. And for this, we have 4 main components in ERDRI. I will talk about each one of these. The European Directory of Registries, the Central Metadata Repository. We have a search tool that is called a search broker. And we have a pseudonymization tool, Spider. So let me begin with the European Directory of Registries. It is basically a list of participating registries with their main characteristics and descriptions. So we have 8 different sections with about 40 fields that they address specific the rare disease addressed by the registry, the scope, the operating institution, the contact information, and some other elements that I will show. And if we have time, we can even show it online. Very important information is that the data input is performed by the registry owners themselves. And this is very important for us in order to keep all the information in ERDRI always updated. So this is also the Directory of Registries is linked and searchable together with the metadata repository that I will talk about in a minute through the search tool, the search broker that I mentioned just before. So just to give you a better idea, I have some screenshots of how it looks like. Like I said, we can go back I have some tabs open that maybe we can show it live as well. We have a clickable map. One can see all the registries, can list all the registries, and can make a basic search in this tool. We are currently revamping the look of the Directory of Registries. We call it DOR for short. And one can search by these are very basic functions, because a much more elaborate search is done through the search broker that I will show you also later. So we are continuing onboarding to onboard the registries continuously, including the ERN network registries and their healthcare providers contributing to their central registries. And for this, the registries, they designate an owner of the entry. The owner provides this information through a form. We collect data on the general information about the registry, the name, the acronym, the medical area, the type, the data what type of data provider they are, whether they belong to a European reference network, whether they're members of EuroCAT, because I mentioned EuroCAT earlier, the description of their scope, and some information on their website, sponsors, etc. I give at the same time one example, and this is the Enroll registry from EuroBloodNet, as we are dealing with Hem Affair today. So this is how it looks like when the data is inserted. The second section is about providing ORFA codes. We also ask the registries where they deal with cancers. One thing about the ORFA codes, regarding the European reference networks, as many of the European reference networks deal also with complex diseases. Sometimes we have a request to also use ICD-10, because an ORFA code does not exist. We know that this can be a problem in some ERNs. And so we do allow, in that case, the use of ICD-10 codes. And I was mentioning earlier that we also ask the question whether the registry deals with cancers. As you see, for example, in the case of Enroll, is a yes. And then we ask which of these ORFA codes are related to cancer, so we can have an idea. Because we also have an activity in our unit, is the Knowledge Center on Cancer, and we do contribute with this kind of information to this Knowledge Center. The Director of Registry also asks information about the structure, inclusion, exclusion criteria, recruitment area, start of recruitment, end of recruitment. We also have some registries that have started and ended their activity already, because they're registries that had a temporal expiration, let's say. And we do welcome these registries because, as you can imagine, they do have valuable information on patients. The current number of cases, the data elements collected, how many, and this is also reflected in the metadata repository, because we ask how many metadata data elements they are collecting. We are very interested to know what software solution they are using, and this varies a lot. I will speak a bit about this when I speak about the metadata repository. It's important because we also develop upload mechanisms that are based on one type of software or another. Often the registries, they use their own technical solutions in-house. So for that purpose, I will explain what is expected to do to upload the metadata later. So the data management and some other questions that are not obligatory, but as you see here, this is how it looks when it's filled in. And registry information about the where the registry is situated, the responsible, and here is not an information that is input but by the registry owner, but this is a link that is automatically created to the namespace from the data metadata repository. On the bottom, you see some information on Spider that it will become clearer later on when I speak about Spider, the allowed users, and some information of the data protection here. And this is where the certificate for the use of Spider is inserted when it's time to, when the registry is ready to use pseudonymization that we offer called Spider. Some other elements like biobanks or additional components, if the registry has something that we have not covered and they want to expose it, they are free to inform through this additional component. So that's about it about the directory of registries. I would love to show you online, but I think that we can go on because these were the main screens. And if we do have time, we can go back on live. So the metadata repository is the second component of ERDRI, and it's about the collection of the metadata, not the data, I repeat, the metadata, that is the description of the data of all participating registries. This means the designation, definition, measurement, unit, range. We do have some validation rules that are used. And the aim here is to create a certain degree of semantic interoperability, like common definitions of the data elements, for human readability, but also for machine readability. We will leverage on semantic web technologies for the use of control vocabularies and taxonomies in the future for our metadata. This is how the list of the namespaces that have created for each of the, you see that we use the namespace. Name is the acronym that has been reported in the directory of registries by the registries. And here I will go, the input is done by the registries themselves, and according to the software they have declared in the directory of registries, we provide instructions. We have currently developed some mechanisms for some very much used softwares like Red Cat and Castor. We're working now on another mechanism for another software, and we see this is where we identify the need. If the structure is similar to our own structure, we try to accommodate this, but we try to bring solutions for the easy upload of the metadata through the export files from these registries. Otherwise, the basic mechanism will be that they use our own structured dedicated Excel sheet, and we provide we have a video where is explained how this structure should be. We have an example of the common data elements that I mentioned earlier, how it should be structured, and it is done. It is done through this Excel sheet. We have. This is not very. My screen is not very good. It's too big, but it's okay. This is enroll, and you see here that once you see here we're talking about 102 variables. They are distributed in groups or single variables, and the registry can download the information. Sorry, we don't see. Yes, okay. The registry, you don't see it right now because it's too zoomed, but maybe I can do something about that. Okay, I will have to stop sharing to do it, but then the registries can go back and delete, make modifications through like move, add groups, add variables, edit through this web interface. Otherwise, you do not see the download button here. They can download it. It is downloaded in the Excel format that I just talked about, and they can do the modifications and re-upload a new version. We keep a history of this versioning so that we can help in case of a problem. We encourage the registries to do a review of these data schemes annually in order to have all the latest versions, because structures can change within registries. So we do encourage this review. I want to now tell you a few things about to introduce the search broker. I mentioned earlier that search broker is the search mechanism of the platform that allows at the same time a search in the directory registries and the metadata repository. And why we have this? Because we want to enable anyone who looks for metadata, who looks for information about patients in a domain. It can be patients themselves, it can be families of patients, it can be I don't know, pharmaceutical industry, it can be policymakers. They can come and look in the search broker and retrieve metadata and identify registries of interest and expose maybe a project request, a project collaboration request to these registries. I mentioned that one of the principles of the platform of ERDRI is that the registries they remain owners of their data. Therefore, whether these results to a request, it does not mean that the registries will reply. They can decide on their own whether they can initiate a study, a collaboration with somebody, or provide some information that is needed to a patient or whoever is asking. So here is an example. We have some fields, filters. We have the registry. You can look at the registry name, acronym, in the countries. the type of registry. I mentioned earlier in the directory of registries, we ask what type of registry it is. It can be clinical, epidemiological, pharmacological, economic studies, or whatever. It can be. We have 8 different types: operational, operation year, whether it has a biobank. The ORFA code, very important filter, and the data elements, of course, are retrieved from the metadata repository. And this is why the correct reporting of the metadata is very important. The description should be also human readable, because this is also a human operation, let's say. But we are also working on machine readability of these data, of course. So, for example, look here, I looked for ORFA code 3398. I looked for registry in Italy, and that administers chemotherapy and has elements related to surgery. And I found one is a pediatric rare tumor network. This is the ERN PETCAN Central Registry. It contains 2 variables, It contains 2 variables that fit with this search. And I'm now ready, if I'm interested in this result, to add it to the contact list. So if I click on contact list, I have the possibility to proceed, and through the search worker expose a request, a study proposal, and contact with the registries. So this contact is done through the ERDRI platform, and this is very important. It actually this is the result of the whole ERDRI functioning, because we do collect this data. What for? It's also to enable registries to do these registries, but everybody else as well to do this kind of search. I also talked about the 4th element of the infrastructure, Spider. Spider is our pseudonymization tool that we offer to all registries that join ERDRI. This means that they have completed the entry in the directory of registries. They have reported their metadata scheme, and they have started they have accepted the terms of use of Spider, and they can use they can use this pseudonymization tool, everybody across the registries, in order to create interoperability between the registries, and to be able to link pseudonyms of the same patients, and or encrypt or transfer encrypted pseudonymized data across registries. And this is a very important thing across the ERNs, because they need a tool like this in order to transfer data of patients between different hospitals that are often sitting in different countries. And an important element is that Spider does not have access to patient data. So we do not have access. The patient's data remain at local level, at the registry level. The Spider uses first name, last name, and date of birth for the creation of this pseudonym. We do provide trainings on Spider for whoever is interested. We are now providing mostly rather than general trainings to everybody. We work together with certain networks that are interested to use it for their networks, but we are open to also trainings that are more multi-stakeholders, let's say. So this I wanted to just mention that this, when it comes to transfer of pseudonymized encrypted data, we do have a policy enforcement that allows registries to decide how much they share and how they share. So I will mention some resources where you can learn more about this. And this, of course, is it's a very important tool for the creation of patients' cohorts for studies, and because otherwise the registries cannot transfer data between the different hospitals. So I will. Yes, here I mentioned that the prerequisites for using, I already mentioned them, to have an EU login account, to be a verified user. This, I did not go through this, did not insist on this. I said that the registries themselves, they insert this data in the directory of registry and the metadata repository. But to become a contributor, or an editor in ERDRI, you need to be a verified user. It means first you have to have a login account, and then you need to send us a verification form. And according to this, we provide the individual user rights. And of course, here is the field that I mentioned earlier in the directory of registries. The registry owner can allow other users that are also in their turn verified users for ERDRI to use Spider on behalf of this registry. So I mentioned the resources. The resources you can find in a specific page on our website. The resources we have manuals, we have instruction videos, we have the user access guide, we have the directory of registry user documentation, the metadata repository, also a video that explains how you can input the data through the Excel sheet. We have a section of frequently asked questions. And for Spider, in the main page of Spider, you can find the Spider presentation video and a series of tutorials from the beginning to very advanced functions of Spider. Like the very first step is the tutorial number 1, how to create a cryptographic archive for the registry once the registry is ready and has decided to use Spider for their work. Here I have some statistics related to ERDRI. How many registries we have. We currently have 170 registries on board. Many of them are from the ERNs. 72% actually are from the ERNs. The others are from patients' registries or registries that are not associated with the ERNs, maybe even national registries or regional registries. And this is the distribution. You see that some European reference networks, they have many registries on board. I mentioned also that we are working with the ERNs to onboard also their contributors to their central registries. That means that they HCPs, the healthcare providers, the hospitals that are contributing, that are not necessarily registries themselves, but they are viable data sources. Here I have a representation of how many registries, the type of registry as they report it. It can be clinical. The report can be only clinical. They can also have clinical plus other. It can be clinical or plus epidemiological plus basic research. You can see here the distribution. Obviously, there's a lot of interest for epidemiology. So most registries have the epidemiology element in reported. And here, as I mentioned, the HCPs earlier, this is also how many HCPs we have onboarded so far. as data sources contributing to the central ERN registries. Some other statistics, we also collect statistics on the number of data elements reported by the registries. And here they are categorized by different, let's say, number brackets. So some registries, they even collect up to 6,000 elements. Some use the zero here corresponds to registries that have not started their collection yet. And we do encourage registries. Actually, we encourage and they're obliged, according to the terms of use, to report, to renew these numbers yearly in the directory of registry. Same with the patient number, because this changes continuously. We have registries that have very few patients, but we also have registries. Okay, here it's for example, more than 500,000 patients is the case of the Banque Nationale for rare diseases in France, and our own central registry for congenital anomalies that I mentioned at the beginning, that has about 1 million cases. I think that's it from my part. I'm not even sure what time it is, if I'm too early or too late. I think it's 40 minutes about. I would love to show you something online, if you wish. I don't know, Dylan, how you want to structure, maybe take questions, and maybe then if we have time.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. You were just on time. It was like
Okay.
40 minutes long.
Thank
So we do have about 20 minutes for questions and whatever you would like to show. So maybe we can start with the questions, as you said. Is there anyone who would like to ask any questions to Andri? Okay, we have Petros.
Okay. Thank you, Andri. Very nice and informative presentation. So the ERDRI tools are very much focused on the ERNs and the ERN registries, but I guess they are also open to other types of registries that are international or national registries. And how does it work when you have an international project that you want to register?
Okay. Thank you, Petros. Thank you for this question. Of course, as I mentioned, it's about the ERNs cover so far, because this number changes as we go on. You know, it is estimated that we have, like, in Europe, when I started working on this project, it was estimated that there were like more than 1,000. No, we were saying back then more than 600 registries. I think that registries are much more than that. We have many registries. We have registries also, an Excel sheet sitting somewhere in the patients association. I mean, I think this is what we need to do, to capture all registries. Absolutely. As I show in the statistics, we have currently 72% are from the ERNs and the rest from other sources. And of course, registries that are national, you know, there are very few national registries in Europe, but we have the Banque Nationale de Maladies Rares, rare diseases in France, and we have also it's a more federated registry in Spain. They call it National Registry, and like I said, this is our aim. We onboard the ERNs because of the developments that have happened in this area in Europe, and the funding that is offered to the ERNs. And it's a great way to capture data sources. Like I mentioned, you know, we don't necessarily, because the definition of a registry is very, very broad. We have sometimes they tell us, but they're not registries. Yes, but they're valuable data sources, and they are collecting maybe many more information than a central ERN registry. So in a way, and this is what happens often. We provide trainings to HCPs, and they tell us, but yes, I'm here because I'm contributing to ERN, I don't know, Epicare or your BloodNet or Huracan. But we have also other registries that are not part of this network of this ERN. So this is how we try to capture all the registries. And frankly, I think this is also part of our work to go and inform that this exists, and patients. I'm very happy I'm invited to a ERDRI's webinar also soon, because I think patients are very organized and they have valuable information sitting in their associations. And yes, we are offering also the opportunity to registries outside Europe to participate in ERDRI. But there we do not offer SPIDER yet because, of data protection, because pseudonymized data is still data. We are data controllers and not data. They were data processors, not data controllers, but still it is not possible to provide SPIDER to, let's say, a registry in the United States or elsewhere. So, but they can participate in ERDRI with no problem in the directory of registries and metadata repository, and use the other tools that we have. So yeah. I hope I answered your question, Petro.
Yes.
Okay.
Perfectly. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any other ones? I see from Jan.
Yes, hello, Andri. That was a very informative talk. I'm involved in the Jardin project, and there is a work package on data. Presumably, do you have some sort of involvement in this project? Because although I'm not involved in the particular work package, the work package that I am involved in is going to be looking at sort of like mapping the rare disease networks in various countries. But one of the things that's important is also the data, because it's important for us to have some sort of map that's also traceable.
We're not officially part of. We are in the, let's say, committee, but we are now contributing to this task on undiagnosed diseases, right? Undiagnosed patients registries recommendations with Dr. Wagner, you may know from Jaren Lang, and but we are in contact with the leaders there, with the Franz Schaffer, and we are in contact with them for sure about this, and they know about our work. So that's for sure that we are not let's say actively contributing to the work packages apart the one I mentioned, but we are always dialoguing with the actors leading the work packages.
Sure. Okay, good. Because as I say, that I personally don't have any direct involvement, but it's obviously if we try and avoid or rather, if we're all aware of the fact that there are certain infrastructures already in place.
Yes. In fact, this is what I should have done. Maybe make a slide with all the contacts that we have. We have contacts of course with the different projects that are going on rare disease data, like the EJPRD and now ERDRI.
Yeah.
We have contacts also with Emma for the catalogs, registry catalogs they are using, because they're also our colleagues. And we are also very much in contact with our colleagues in DG RTD that are financing all the projects. So, there's a lot of sometimes complementarity between the projects and us as the commission services, but we are keeping an eye on all this, and we
Great. That's
are
great.
aware, and they are aware also of our work.
Okay, excellent. Because in Greece we're about to create a national an attempt to do a national registry. Indeed. And the idea is to do a pilot first. But it's very useful, the information that I got today from your talk, because I think it might be useful. I'm not directly involved in that either, but I'm peripheral to an attempt that's being made. And I'll just make sure that they are aware of the ERDRI.
Yes. I'm not sure if I understood correctly. You mentioned Greece.
Yes.
Yes, indeed, because last year I participated in, 2 years ago, not last year. They had it was when they presented their intention to create this registry.
Okay.
And but frankly, I did not yet see anything concrete. Probably still in the works. It's also political.
Yes.
It's a political context question, I suppose. But okay, yes, they had this intention, and I presented. It was an event that had them all, like a bit like more. Not very technical, but more political. But I presented what we have, and it sounded like they were, on the right track, at least on paper.
I think this is the case. But as I said, it's very useful information, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jan.
Okay. Anyone else? I don't see any hands, but let me check again. Okay, so I don't think we have any other questions. So we
don't have another question. So maybe I can share, the website live, because the screenshots sometimes they're not so attractive. I may put them just in case we didn't have time in order to have them. And let's see. This is still my. Where is it? Okay, so I will go a step backwards. This is what I was showing earlier. We have the platform. You see my screen, right?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. I zoomed a bit. So this is, I was mentioning the building blocks of the two functions of the EURD platform as a whole, because the ERDRI is within this EURD platform. The other part I mentioned is EuroCAD. Again, if somebody's interested in EuroCAD, it's a very important work that we are doing here at the JRC to collect this data from these registries, about 48 registries across Europe. They cover, as I mentioned earlier, about 1 million cases. So it's a very important network. And here is all the elements about the infrastructure. Here you can find, I mentioned the common data elements. You can see that they are available in different languages. In case you want to consult them. We also have this page on trainings. Here, I mentioned that we used to have a continuous call. We do have it still. So if you want to express interest for a training, of course, you can come here, click here, and you can fill in a form that tells us that you're interested in our trainings. Unfortunately, it's a bit out of date. We delivered many more trainings since then, but we do more one-to-one. We do more, but we can collect interest, general interest, and when we have the number that justifies, I don't know, like maybe 10 people interested, we can organize a small training. For this, we do a lot of hands-on trainings because, doctors in hospitals are very busy, and often they don't have the time to sit and read instructions and put this data in the directory of registries. Is not that difficult, and the metadata repository may need some understanding. So we organize hands-on trainings where they come, small groups, they come, and we start from the verification form, directory of registries, metadata repository, and we arrive up to the creation of the cryptographic archive for the use of Spider. And I think it's much appreciated, this approach. So this is how we are working, but it does not exclude general trainings that we can deliver. We also have I show it on a slide, the different resources, publications here. We also can show you how you arrive, how you enter you enter the tools. So this is the description page of the ERDRI, and you have each description of each tool, some guides here, and the frequently asked questions on the bottom. And here you have access to the tools. Once a person becomes verified user, receives a one-pager instructions on how to access. So it's step by step. We have these automatic mailings that as soon as the user has been authorized for the next step, they receive appropriate instructions. So here one has to accept if you're not verified user, you arrive to the verification form that is like now I entered, but should I have not been a verified user, I want to show you because I prepared this, I would have come here, and this is the verification form. And this is how you arrive to have access to the with your EU login, because the EU login is standard. You need to have it before you can see details. For example, the list of registries, you can be a viewer with just your EU login. Then, in order to become a contributor, if I had not been already a verified user, I would have come here, and the administrators of the ERDRI platform, they will receive an email saying, in here you can explain for which registry you're working on, and what kind of role you want to have. So this is, it's a step-by-step process. I was here. Where was I? I was here. So these are the main components. The directory of registries, as I mentioned earlier, here you can see, if you're not logged in, you can see the list of the registries without details. If you're logged in with your EU login, you don't need to be a verified user to see. You can you can see details, and you can enter one by one the registries and view their characteristics. And you can also use this basic search. We now, like I mentioned, we have a revamped version that will come out very soon. It will look slightly different to this. And if you want to become if you are a contributor, if you are authorized to become a contribution, you arrive at the screenshots I showed you earlier. This is the form where you can report your registry's information one by one, the sections that I mentioned earlier. Here is all the information that I mentioned about Spider. Once because the registries can also come back to this and add elements, no? Review, they can edit anytime their registry. They accept once they finish, they accept the privacy statement, they save. So that's the way it's done. Then a namespace, they are informed that they have successfully filled in the directory of registries, and they can access I take this example, they can access their metadata space in the metadata repository, where they can report their metadata. In this case, the metadata is reported, but let's take a registry that does not have yet their metadata reported, the first one. So they will have to, I'm not logged in, so I have to be logged in. They have to go upload. According to the registry's software, they will have three options. If they are a REDCap registry, they will already have received the instructions how to do it. If they are custom-based registry, they will have received instructions how to do it, specific instructions. And if they are none of that, so we send an email according to what they have reported in the directory of registries about the software they are using. Like I said before, they can do at any time modification of their metadata elements at any time, but once they start exchanging data through Spider, it is important that this is not changed all the time, of course. And but small changes can be made. I take the example of this. We keep history, as I said. This is not available to the users. It is shown because I'm admin, but we help in case something happens, we help the users to retrieve the previous version if they had trouble. It has never happened because I think that is easy to keep track. They can export. If you do export, you get an Excel sheet according to our template structure. And you see here all the functions that they were not very visible in my slide earlier. They can edit, they can move, they can change the position of the different elements. They can put a group in a group, move an element from one group to the other, add a variable, delete a variable, etc. So that's it. And maybe very quickly, I'm not sure if we have time. I just wanted to show you the search broker. I had mentioned one example on the slide, and I have one example already here. For example, I chose Italy, type of registry, epidemiology, and I mentioned, same as before, chemotherapy and surgery. I could have put an orphan code here as well, but we just with this Italy, epidemiology and chemotherapy and surgery, I get 7 registries. These are the registries. The variables associated with my search are shown as well. The relative variables where these keywords are shown, and then we can add to the list, add to the contact list, and then I can go proceed. I will arrive to this screen where I can describe why I want contact with these registries, and this will be handled from there on. So that's it. I am happy I showed this online. I think I did everything I had planned to show you. So thank you again very much. We're a bit over time, I realize. So
No, that's okay. That was very informative and useful. Okay, so I think, yeah, as you said, we are just 5 past, but it's okay. Thank you for your presentation, Andri. It was very, very good. I had some questions before, but everything was like explained really well in your
okay.
presentation. So,
And
yeah,
please do
go
not
ahead.
hesitate to contact us whenever you do have a follow-up question. If you think that something you didn't, or you go back to the website and you say, "Oh, but how does it work?" Please, on the website you will find also the functional mailbox where you can contact us or me directly. So always there to answer anything you may need.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, okay, I think we can close off the session. Thanks again for your time and for
You,
accepting our invitation. And thanks everyone for joining the session. As always, the recording will be available in the HIMAFAIR website, and we will make the announcements on our social media, mostly on LinkedIn, when they are available, but it takes about 1 or 2 days. So thanks everyone again.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice
Bye-bye. Have
afternoon.
a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.